everybody. It's a great time to be part of this project and to see it all coming together. Again, my name is David Sowers. I'm the Deputy Program Administrator on the SR99 project. I, first of all, kind of want to thank you all for being here and continue to get the message across about the closure and the challenges that drivers are going to face, certainly on Monday morning. I do want to, seems like I haven't seen you guys in weeks, but it was really just last Friday. Our closure that we started Friday night went very well. The contractor's been doing a lot of work this week in those areas that were closed off at the northbound on-ramp at Royal Rome and the southbound off-ramp at Atlantic. Work has progressed as planned. We're very optimistic that things will continue into this weekend as they continue that work. But so far everything's gone very well with that, and it's only been 5 days, but things continue to progress well. We're joined here today by all the agencies that are involved in this closure, and I want to give everybody an opportunity to talk about their individual agencies and what they're doing to prepare drivers for next week. But I have to reiterate it again and again, business is not as usual. We are going to see longer travel times into the city on Monday morning. We saw this in 2016 when we closed the viaduct for 9 days. We expect folks it's going to take longer to get to work. You know, if you got a doctor's appointment downtown, you got to pick up the kids after school or drop them off before school, those trips are going to take longer no matter where you live in the metropolitan area. We saw a lot of added commute times on westbound routes on 520 and I-90 in 2016, so plan ahead, make sure you give yourself more time to get to work and to get into the city starting Monday. And then pack your patience. Just be ready. This is going to drag on for 3 weeks, and we need to be as diligent the first day as we are on the last. But we'll all get through it, and in the end, we'll have a beautiful facility that we'll be driving through for at least the next 100 years. At least some of you might be. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Heather Marks, and she's going to talk about SDOT's work as we get ready for the closure.
Thanks, Dave. Heather Marks, M-A-R-X. I am the Director of Downtown Mobility for Seattle's Department of Transportation. So, as Dave said, this closure is going to be like nothing we've ever experienced before, and it's going to have region-wide impacts, not just Seattle and not just a few streets. We're all going to have to channel Fred Rogers. We're going to have to take our time. We're going to have to be kind, be patient, and think about other people and how they're experiencing this. And not just on the roads. A bad commute can ruin your whole day. So everybody just take a deep breath. The City of Seattle is ready with 24/7 traffic management and enforcement. We're communicating multiple times a day with all of our partners, including WSDOT, the Port of Seattle, Metro, Seattle Police Department, Seattle Fire Department, Sound Transit, of course. In order to make space for emergency vehicles and for transit, we're restricting parking in a number of locations. People should really pay attention to those signs because we're also going to be towing with alacrity. We're pulling back construction projects to make sure that there's maximum room for the traveling public on the right-of-way. Everyone is going to have to change things up a little bit, make a little extra time. For me, I live in West Seattle. This means I'm flexing my schedule a little bit, adding about a half an hour to my commute time. For other people, it's going to mean a little bit different thing. If you have those choices to be flexible, to not drive, to not travel at regular commute times, please take advantage of those choices because there are people who don't have those choices, and we really need to be thinking of ourselves as a community here. We are also encouraging people to travel very carefully. There is nothing that will make a bad traffic day worse faster than a collision. And we, in the City of Seattle, safety is our #1 priority, and we are still looking to that goal of zero traffic fatalities and serious injuries by 2030. We have lots of resources to help people. Please visit seattle.gov/traffic, sign up for alerts so that you can be in the know. Next, I'd like to turn it over to Assistant Chief Steve Herjak to talk about SPD's response.
Hello everyone, my name is Steve Herjak, that's spelled H-I-R-J-A-K. I'm the Assistant Chief of the Seattle Police Department's Homeland Security and Special Operations Bureau. Where that intersects with this is that under my command is the traffic enforcement and parking enforcement sections. I'd like to ask commuters to please allow extra time both coming to work and leaving to go home. You're going to expect that we're going to see increased traffic congestion. We're going to do our best to manage the traffic situation. We work closely with the Department of Transportation's traffic planners and engineers to find key intersections that are going to be staffed by uniformed police officers working the intersections. We're going to need your cooperation for that, especially when it comes to things like block the box. We're going to have the officers there to help make sure to get you through the intersections, but it's vitally important that you keep those intersections clear. If you try and make it through that red light, you're just going to block traffic for thousands of other commuters. So please do your best to obey the laws. Along that, we're also going to be doing bus lane enforcement. We've already started that. 3rd Avenue, I have to remind you, the 3rd Avenue is for buses only. We have extra transit taking those roads, so every car that illegally goes into that lane is going to slow down transit for thousands of commuters. So we please request your cooperation. Also, a reminder that we put this out before several times, steer it and clear it. If you're in an accident and you're not hurt and your car can move, please get it out of the road. Use a parking lot or a curb or an emergency lane or a shoulder, whatever you can do to get your car out of the road. If you feel you really need to document the scene, take a quick picture with your phone and then move your car as soon as you can. It's vitally important that those cars get out of the roadway. Most of all, please remember to be patient with your fellow commuters. Everyone's in the same boat together. I am too. I'm a commuter also. So you have to remember that everyone's going through that same frustration that you're going through, and everyone is going to have to give that extra patience and kindness to each other and make room to let people merge and do the courteous thing with stopping short of that intersection so that it stays clear for cross traffic. So anyway, that's what I have for you this morning. I want to turn it over to our great partner in the Seattle Fire Department, Chief Mondragon.
Thank you, Chief. Hi, I'm Deputy Chief Ron Mondragon, M-O-N-D-R-A-G-O-N, with Seattle Fire Operations. Seattle Fire Department supports fire stations through every community in the city of Seattle. Also in the downtown impacted core to 99 and I-5. Those fire stations help us support our mission of emergency medical, rescue, and fire services throughout the city of Seattle. We fully recognize the fact that our response times may be impacted by congestion during this historic event. To support those potentially challenged response times, we've worked with our partner agencies, Seattle DOT and Seattle Police Department, to establish response corridors to navigate our way around traffic. To support those response times, we'd like to ask the public to remember, pull to the right for lights and sirens, and assist us with passing on our left. Additionally, the Seattle Fire Department will be activating our Resource Management Center. The RMC, their primary task will be to coordinate with partner agencies, also to gather response data, both passive and active, to identify any impacts we have, and to provide recommendations to the fire chief on how to minimize or reduce those impacts. So with that being said, I'd like to bring up Metro Transit.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Mondragon, and thank you all for your time and attention this morning. We have been hearing stories at Metro of people trying their commute, trying their Metro service for the first time, and that's very encouraging. That's great. There's still time to try out the Metro service in your neighborhood if you're not familiar with it. Peak commute buses can be full, but riding transit is still a better choice for the overall transportation network, and a much better way to be part of your community than driving alone. You can board fast and easy with an Orca card or with the Go Transit app on your smartphone. Or carry $2.75 in cash to get where you're going and $2.75 to get back on your way home. The cash fare and the Orca fares also include a transfer. So if you're traveling around in about 2 hours, your return trip is free. The fare for Orca Lift holders is $1.75. The Orca Lift fare is $1.50, and the senior and Medicare fare is $1. In addition, each adult can carry up to 4 kids for free on their Metro Transit trip. Travel is going to be longer. Please allow 30 to 60 minutes extra travel time, especially on the first days of this closure. I'd like to thank people who are taking steps to adjust their commutes by telecommuting, adjusting their work and travel schedules, or trying transit, including the water taxi. No single solution is going to work for everybody, and we're all in this together. My personal example is that I've been commuting from Ballard into downtown Seattle for the last 20 years. And while at first glance the Ballard Bridge corridor does not appear to be directly affected by this project, it will be, and I know that traffic is going to be slower. And particularly for the first couple days of the closure, I'll be leaving a half an hour earlier to get into town for work each morning. We recognize that many work schedules can't be changed, that some trips, like getting to school or daycare or to the doctor, are essential, and it can be very stressful and can cost people a lot of money to not make those appointments. And so I just want to stress again that for that type of essential trip, when you really need to be somewhere on time, please pay extra special attention and leave early. Changing how and when we travel during the next 3 weeks is the best way to make sure that we can all get where we're going and everybody can keep moving. When the new tunnel opens in 3 to 5 weeks, travel conditions and Metro Transit service will, we expect and hope, begin to settle into the new normal. There will be a series of additional changes in March and then towards the end of this year, and we will be talking about those in more detail as time marches on. Thank you very much, and with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Washington for some more remarks.
All right, thank you, Bill. Okay, so we're going to take questions here in a second, but I was reminded I needed to mention the reason we're standing here at the South Operations Building is because we want to highlight for you all what's happening this weekend. And what is happening this weekend behind me on the columns that are marked in orange are actually the beginnings of the removal of this at this intersection so we can open up Dearborn to traffic during the in February. So that's one of the things I wanted to highlight here is the demolition of the viaduct will actually take place Saturday and Sunday. Small piece of it right behind me, and I kind of wanted to highlight that for all of you wondering why we're standing under the viaduct today. So with that, please feel free to ask questions of any of us stand up here.
David, a lot of people are going to be stuck in the traffic and they'll be asking themselves, why is it necessary to do it this way? Can you remind us why it was important to close the viaduct for 3 weeks before the tunnel was open?
Yeah, I've said this before. This is more than just moving some traffic cones around. There's a fair amount of work at both ends, at both portals, where the traffic is in a current detour situation. Leaves mainline 99, goes on to the viaduct, and then exits. And so what we need to do during this 3-week period is remove embankments, build embankments, stripe, construct barrier, pave. We've got a lot of work that requires time and energy to do. It's not as simple as moving some traffic cones. And you'll see work going on at both ends of the 99 corridor, down here at the south end, of course, and then at the north portal, where the traffic has been shifted and the workers can get in there and build those barriers, build those pavements, and remove those embankments, and so that we can open up the tunnel in early February.
One question for Seattle Police. What advice or direction have you gotten so far from the mayor's
We have ongoing meetings. Right with retired general, but right now he's more in the stages of working with SDOT and SPD together to make sure that our existing plans are executed, and he's providing services from the mayor's office to make sure that our needs are met.
Can you give one example of a good idea he's tossed on the pile?
I don't know if Deputy Director Marks has something. But right now, my personal meetings with him, I know he's met with the Deputy Chief Garth Green more than me, but I have met with him, and my meetings have been specifically meeting the needs that we need, as opposed to redirecting our plan and our years of planning. He's more facilitating what we need to do interagency-wise.
I'll just say that it's invaluable to have that overall coordination across all of the 29 departments of the city. Obviously, Assistant Chief Herjack and I work very closely together to ensure that our plans are harmonious, but having somebody who's in charge of making sure that all the departments of the city are in alignment has been invaluable.
Can you give one example of the benefit of that already? Ever been any?
Well, I think that it's clear to see who has sort of the primary involvement: SDOT, Seattle Police Department, Seattle Fire Department, but there are other departments that have an impact on how traffic goes. For example, Seattle Public Utilities. We want to make sure that the phone center, as well as the various operations that they do, are in alignment with our plans. So it's that kind of alignment that has been really valuable.
An example that we discussed with retired General Warden was, for example, I have no authority over Sound Transit light rail trains, and he has the mayor's office horsepower behind him, so to speak. And so when the police department needs something, say a light rail train were to block Lander or Holgate and back up traffic for he has the higher level authority of the mayor's office to assist us with getting the quicker coordination with Sound Transit to get that stuff moving, that type of thing. So he's a higher level facilitator for all of these, the 29 agencies Director Marks talked about.
Can we talk a little bit about emergency response?
I'm sorry, there were two questions at the same time. I didn't.
Can we talk a little bit more about emergency response? You mentioned that emergency response times are likely to grow. So one of the concerns from SPD and the fire department about making sure those emergencies are tended to and the people that need it.
We have taken operational steps within patrol to make sure to mitigate any of the response time delays. I don't want to speak specifically operationally because it's an operational security issue with the police department to tell people how we're operating and how we're planning. But we have taken mitigation steps for response time. Also, we've coordinated over the last year and a half with the fire department about emergency corridor lanes, as well as partnering with SDOT to make sure we have those no park zones so that we have room to move people over to the right. To echo Chief Mondragon, move to the right. We have those lanes open so we can get fire trucks through and police cars through. This is something that's been coordinated through countless meetings between the fire department, the police department, and SDOT. So I think we prepared it well for mitigating any of those response delays.
What kind of timing are you anticipating? Is there a couple minutes at this point, 5 minutes, or who knows? What's acceptable?
We're tracking that, and obviously every second counts, so our goal is to stay the same. We'll find out next week exactly how the first week's impact is, and we will have a police commander in the Traffic Operations Center working directly with SDOT and the fire department to coordinate what's working and what's not throughout the day so that we can react real time. So it's not like our plan fails or doesn't, works or doesn't work. It's going to be adjusted constantly on the fly. We've prepared for that.
I can probably comment on that. In coordination with Seattle Department of Transportation, we primarily use North and South avenues of 2nd and 4th Avenue, but in the event of an emergency, we likely will be using the 3rd Avenue bus lanes. We also have established chute or east to west streets, approximately 8 of them between Denny Way and Yesler. And those streets are typically one-way streets where we've worked out no park signs on one side of the street, which will allow the fire department the ability to bypass congestion or stop traffic. So we do have a map and chart of those specific streets, and we have done that in coordination with Seattle Department of Transportation, as well as Seattle Police Transit.
We just had a blog post yesterday, so you can check SDOT's blog to see the map of that. Do you remember earlier when I mentioned that you're going to see more no park signs? That's exactly that's right. And that's why we're going to be towing with alacrity. We're going to really get out there. So do not park in those no parked areas.
Did you forget? So you talked about the issue of people bustling by it.
Yes.
What is the ticket and how many kind of officers do you know they're catching?
Okay, so there's multiple parts to that question right there. Is the fine $158, Captain Santa? I believe it's a $158 fine for the bus lane violation. We're hammering it right now as we speak. I've already gotten great feedback that they've seen increased enforcement. Metro was commenting that increased enforcement on 3rd Avenue and 4th Avenue where we see frequent violations. And I'm forgetting the other parts of your questions already.
Along those lines, when we hear Heather talk about alacrity, I want to know, for instance, a couple parts here, without giving operational detail. How hard are you going to be going after and ticketing locked up boxers? Are we going out? We're going to ticket buses that block the blocks. Are we going to ticket pedestrians that go across the lane to prevent people from turning? I mean, how aggressive are you going to be?
Like I said earlier, this is about community partnership and working together as a community, as a city, to make sure we all get where we need to go. The officers working the intersections goals are to facilitate keeping those intersections clear and moving. So, for example, with a bus lane, we've worked with the traffic planners and the traffic engineers to identify the key intersections where we have the most block box problems, and the officers are going to be stationed there where they can prevent vehicles from blocking that spot where the bus would make it across the street or not, or make it across the intersection. So we plan strategically to try and prevent that in the first place. We're going to try and facilitate getting people out when it does happen, just clearing them as soon as we can, rather than beating up on our citizens that are going through the same bad commute that we are. So it's about community partnership.
So you're not going to hand out a whole bunch of tickets then? You're just going to try to move people?
It's about working with the community. I'm not taking tickets off the table. We're still police officers, but at the same time, we want to just keep traffic moving. That's the primary goal with the traffic.
Traffic moving. This morning there was a disabled apparently up on 99 here. Apparently that created a real mess through West Seattle, on the West Seattle Bridge, because we had a lot of people coming to work and they said it was off for a disabled. What happened this morning, and how much of that is a sign of what we all need to brace for?
Well, we're going to see an increase in response time from our tows. We've been authorized to help get the tow trucks more quickly to the scene by clearing paths for them, which is something we hadn't previously done as a police department, so we're going to be doing that. We work closely with our tow partners and contractors for the city that they have rearranged tow truck driver schedules to bulk up the amount of vehicles they have and putting them downtown. In fact, in order to increase their response time to reduce that starting next week, they've set up an auxiliary lot that's closer to downtown, so a truck isn't out of service as long. So we've taken a lot of steps to make sure we can clean that up. That stuff hasn't gone into effect yet this week, so I wouldn't count today's incident as an indicator of what it's going to be like next week. Of course, none of us here really know what it's going to be like next week.
Which specific highways, and this might be a question for you too, highways do you see more congestion? I know in 2016 we had that viaduct closure for 10 days and we kind of learned a little bit from that. So what highways, like I-5, what stretches would you expect to see the clogging? And what about SDOT streets like First Avenue? Can you name some of the specific streets possibly?
So I wish that we could tell you that the congestion is going to be limited to one street, but honestly, this is going to have a region-wide impact, and there's no street that is going to be unimpacted by this closure. We expect to see lots of backups in Soto, obviously in the center city, and in South Lake Union. That's where everybody's coming into town for work or other things. But I would not say that there's going to be a particular street that's going to not experience the congestion that we know is coming.
Is there anything that you learned in 2016 that you're implementing this time around?
There are a lot of things that we learned in 2016 that we're implementing this time around, a long list. And in fact, if you look at the list of things that we're doing, many of those things were informed by what happened in 2016. The main thing that we learned from 2016 is that the commute period, the peak period, is going to get longer, and your travel times in that commute period will also be longer. WashDOT has a helpful graphic, I think, that they can send you.
Has Ford done anything different in terms of moving freight? Like, are they changing their times? Have they been involved in any of that?
What was the question?
The freight? Have you guys done anything
They're not
differently?
gonna do anything, no.
Peter McGraw is with the Port of Seattle. And
BNSF.
then after that, we're gonna have to.
Yeah, well, he's not from
We can take
BNSF.
questions aside later, but the crews have to get back to work. They've been standing down for us.
Thank you. Peter McGraw, Port of Seattle, last name MCGRAW. We've been speaking with the freight community on both sides of the Cascades for since August. We've been letting truckers know to speak with their dispatchers, keep their apps up to date, look at all the current traffic information. We've been telling port employees, if possible, get out of your car, take public transportation. We've opened gate hours a little earlier at T46, right over there. And we are going to be monitoring the situation and making adjustments as necessary.